Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Naati Rajajana binti Muhammad Azmi with metric number S75040. In this presentation, I will be sharing the introduction to the development of wind energy in Denmark. Denmark is a world leader in wind energy with more than 50% of the country's electricity generated by turbine. However, the achievement was not easy. As a country with a limited domestic energy resource, no coal reserve and no nuclear power, Denmark was highly dependent on import oil to make energy needed. This dependence became a major challenge during 1917 global oil crisis, which affected Denmark and exposed it to external energy supply. As a result, the crisis became a turning point that encouraged the country to seek alternative and more sustainable energy resources, particularly wind energy. This presentation examines the development of wind energy in Denmark, begin with the energy crisis that drove changes in national energy policy, followed by technological innovation and major wind energy projects. It also highlights how this effort has strengthened Denmark's position as a global pioneer in the wind energy and model for other countries pursuing renewable energy development. The objective of this study are to examine the development of wind energy in Denmark and the key factors that have contributed to its success as a global leader in renewable energy. This study aims to provide a better understanding of how Denmark transformed its energy sector from being highly dependent on import fossil fuel to become one of the most advanced countries in wind energy utilization. First, the study explored the background of Denmark energy sector and the renewable energy policy that have supported the growth and expansion of wind energy over time. Second, it applies economic theories such as externality, demand, supply, and cost-benefit analysis to evaluate the performance and development of the wind energy industry in Denmark. This theory helped to explain economic benefit and challenge associated with renewable energy adoption. Finally, the study assessed the impact of the key challenge of wind energy development in Denmark, including its economic, social, and environmental effect. Based on this finding, the study proposed sustainable policy recommendation and strategic measures that can support the continued growth of the wind energy and contribute to long-term energy security and sustainable development. Next, I will discuss the overview of Denmark energy sector and the policy that have support its development. The development of wind energy in Denmark began 1891 when Polarco created the first wind turbine capable of generating electric, although it used decline with introduction of electric and diesel engine. The 1973 oil crisis became a turning point that encouraged the Danish government to strengthen the country's energy security. Since the 1970s, the Danish government have implemented various alternatives to promote renewable energy. This includes energy subsidy, the establishment of an energy agency, and funding for research and development in renewable energy technology. As a result of consistent government policy, technological innovation, and strong community involvement, Denmark has become a global leader in clean and sustainable energy system.
Hello and good day everyone, my name is Husnul Farha binti Abdul Salam. My metric number is S74622. So today I will present the economics of wind energy in Denmark, focusing on economic theories and their real impacts. First, let's look at section externalities. We will analyze how wind energy gives side effects for both good and bad to our society. For the positive externalities, wind energy brings major benefits. It gives us cleaner air, creates over 33,000 jobs and makes Denmark energy independent. However, there are also negative externalities. The challenges include visual impacts on landscapes, noise pollution for nearby residents, and risk to wildlife like birds. Okay, we will moving on to the section market dynamics. In the Nord Pool market, electricity demand is always stable, but supply changes with the weather. When it is very windy, supply increases and electricity price will drop. Then, for the cost-benefit analysis, which is CBA, we see that the upfront cost to build wind turbines is very high. But in the long run, operating costs are almost zero because wind is free, making the total benefits higher than the cost. Okay, next, we will move on to the section trade-off, which is every challenge has a solution. High costs are balanced by a long-term sustainability, weather issues are solved with energy storage, and public complaints are offset by local job creation. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. Hi and good day. Dr. Azlina. I'm Nur Aisha binti Muhammad Ansallah S7695. In this video, I will be sharing 5 quick points on how Denmark's wind power industry act as catalyst for both micro and macro expansions. So firstly, powerful expansion multiplier. Every €1 of wind energy produced increased local per capita income by €1.33, driven by a boost in corporate earning, which is €0.57, and rise in retirement fund value, which is €0.22. So secondly, increase regional spending, which is wind energy projects stimulate an average spending increase of euro 0.36% distributed across the medical, management, and education or culture sectors. Other than that, local financial independence, corporate taxes paid by the wind industry fund municipal infrastructure, which reduce local authorities' reliance on central government financial support. Next is limited labor market impact. Despite creating green jobs, the industry overall impact on employment is limited, causing only minor occupational shift rather than large-scale national structural changes. And my final point is high cost and subsidy reliance, which is the sector requires massive initial capital for manufacturing and installations, and its reliance on early stage subsidies heavily influence fiscal budget and electricity market pricing. Now, let's look at the environmental side of wind energy, which is present both great benefit and unique challenges. So, firstly, it's about the significant carbon reduction transitioning to wind energy by replacing coal-fired plant drastically reduce the national CO2 emission as a turbine produce zero house gases during their operational phase. So next is end of life blade waste challenges, which is turbine blade lasts 20 to 25 years but made of durable fiberglass and epoxy resin, making them highly resistant decomposition and difficult to recycle using conventional methods. So third is about circular economic innovation. To tackle landfill waste, companies like Vestas are developing chemical processes to break down old epoxy composites, which is allowing them to be remanufactured into new turbine components. Other than that, marine ecosystem disruption, offshore wind farm construction, such as like a drilling and pile driving at the Krager's flag, which is generate frequency underwater low frequency underwater noise that can be disrupt the migration sonar system and habitat of marine mammals. Lastly is about local community concern. Beyond the ecological issues, coastal residents frequently express the concern regarding the visual impact of large turbine structure on natural landscape and the noise pollution generated by rotating blades. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nuraini Hasna binti Abdulghani with the number matrix of S74285, and I will talk about socio-cultural dynamics of wind in Denmark. Now I will explain how Denmark's energy transition reshapes community structures, national identity, and geographic equity. First, we look at the local community empowerment and welfare. Revenue generated from wind energy directly funds municipal spending on local health and education. This action noticeably boosting the community welfare, thus the economic reinvestment, since Denmark is benefited from the energy transition. Next is social acceptability. Allowing local residents to financially participate in and profit from renewable energy projects will foster a strong sense of ownership and social responsibility. This will make the Danish community will come together and support the energy transition. Next being the national identity and the strategic pride. Well, Denmark isn't just building wind energy turbines, it has also woven renewable energy into its very national identity. When we look at the mega projects like the North Sea Energy Islands, these aren't just engineering feats, they are symbols of global leadership that drive immense domestic pride of the nation itself. And Denmark has also received its global recognition it deserves since the integration of the renewable sector into the national narrative has solidified Denmark's status as a pioneer in green innovation, driving domestic pride and international prestige. However, this energy transition also creates systemic friction and special inequalities. The first one being the NIMBY phenomenon, which is also shortened for Not in My Backyard. The persistent local opposition remains a challenge since they would not want to bear the heavy burden of the turbine installations, noise pollution, and the spoiled views. The next being the rural-urban divide. This problem would emerge since a geographic inequality gap, since the rural communities will bear the heavy physical and visual burden of hosting turbine installations, while the urban centers more quickly reap the clean energy benefits. Well, now we move on to the challenges faced by the Denmark's wind energy transition. Well, the first being the grid saturation and balancing issues. Why? Because of the surplus power and negative prices. When the wind blows hard, turbines create more electricity than Denmark can use. This floods the market, causing power prices to crash to zero or go negative, meaning operators lose money by producing its power. Next being the storage barriers. The obvious fix is to store this extra energy in large batteries, but outdated laws and level taxation make building the storage systems too expensive and too complicated. And the expert bottlenecks. Denmark tries to sell its extra power to neighbors like Germany via undersea cables. However, these cables easily fill up, trapping the power and forcing Denmark to shut down its turbines. The next challenge being the offshore financial and procurement hurdles. Well, let's see at the tender failures that dated back in 2024. A massive project to build new wind farms got zero bidders from developers. This is because of after the pandemic, rising inflation and the high cost of steel and materials is at an all-time high, made the project too financially risky for private companies. There is also the risk-sharing reforms. To fix this, the government will change its strategy. They now offer smaller projects and a safety net where the state protects developers if energy prices drop too low, while taking a cut if prices go too high. And what is the environmental trade-offs? While Denmark benefits from the renewable energy, building massive wind farms can harm the marine life and disrupt avian migration routes. This will make the regulators are stuck trying to balance saving the planet with protecting local wildlife. And last but not least, the challenge is onshore bureaucracy and social resistance. The red tape is onshore wind projects are constantly delayed because developers have to jump through too many layers of local and national government permits and paperwork. This will make the process way too long to be done. Well, next is the NIMBYE zone. As I said before, not in my backyard resistance is growing. Neighbors protest new turbines because they are allowed to ruin scenic views and lower nearby property values. And this will lead to the loss of community trust. In the past, locals owned wind turbines together and shared the profits. However, today, giant corporations built up, leaving rural residents with the noise while the clean energy goes to the major cities. To fix this, the industry wants to fund local town projects to win back trust, but can they?
Assalamualaikum to our lecturer and everyone. My name is Nira binti Abdurrani, matrix number S76996. So today I will wrap up our presentation by focusing on the policy division, strategic recommendation, and conclusion. So first, we must speed up the Energy Island project using a two-way contract for different model to reduce market risk and restore investor confidence. Second, we recommend mandating municipal climate funds to channel economic rewards directly to local communities, which help overcome the NIMBYism. Third, we need to expand grid storage by subsidizing utility-scale battery system to absorb excess wind supply and prevent negative electricity price on the Nord Pool grid. Next, for our strategic recommendation on how to execute this policy. First, we must streamline bureaucracy by establishing a centralized one-stop center at municipal level to fast-track project approval. Second, we must ensure inclusive co-ownership by requiring developers to channel a portion of profits into local funds to provide direct electricity bills rebates for affected households. Third, we propose power to X fiscal incentive such as corporate tax exemption and matching grants to convert excess wind energy into green hydrogen by ensuring long-term grid stability. In conclusion, Denmark's transition from oil dependency to a global wind pioneer highlight how efficient natural resources management drives macroeconomic stability. To achieve their target of 70% emission reduction by 2030, Denmark must resolve current market realities like grid saturation and local community objection. Ultimately, the biggest lesson here is that a sustainable energy transition requires a perfect balance between technological innovation, market stability, and social acceptance. Thank you.